At listenuptv.com, you can find all the agencies that are featured today and the difference they're making and how you can get involved in their work. Also, you can sign up for a Listen Up TV trip with Samaritan's Purse that'll be going in the many months to come to do the hard work of rebuilding somebody's home, somebody's school. It's not going to be easy. Check it out at listenuptv.com. Welcome back to Listen Up's special forum on Haiti and the many agencies that are using your donations to make a healing difference in that shattered nation. The diversity of Christian response is reflected well on our set today. CBM has responded to the Haiti earthquake by sending in emergency relief specialists, Beth Jost-Reimer and Emily Kerr. Beth, tell us what's going on the ground.
Well, CBM has been in Haiti for over 30 years. We have medical partners on the ground. We also have rehabilitative partners. So they have been overwhelmed by the need by the crush of people knocking at their doors right from the beginning. So they are busy doing a lot of medical treatments, ophthalmic treatments, as well as orthopedic surgeries. That's really where our focus has been primarily.
And Emily, I want you to pick up the microphone here because your specialty as an agency has been disabilities, blindness, amputations. You're dealing on a whole new scale, even though you have been there 30 years. What are you anticipating on how to respond to this greatly increased scale of work?
We're anticipating a very difficult situation, even more so in the coming months and weeks. We're looking at we've been serving people with disabilities probably around the number of 80,000 with our partners. So after this earthquake, we're looking at something way beyond that, a much larger number. In terms of people and what they're experiencing, we're just looking at people in a destitute situation, really, and our medical partners being overwhelmed. Like Beth said, there are several medical specialties that we're looking at, and those people are just being overwhelmed right now with the incredible need that's on the ground.
Okay, well, speaking of need and being overwhelmed, let's speak for a moment about the orphans. Prior to the earthquake, there were 350,000 orphans in Haiti, and Philip Marr of Christian Children's Fund of Canada, how many do you think there are now?
Well, we don't really know, to be honest. We're looking at over 200,000 probably. The fact of the matter is we don't know how many people really have even died in this crisis. So the number of orphans, it's pretty hard to count them just, given the situation. I think what's really important for people to understand, because we hear about people frustrated because they want to adopt orphans, the reality is that they need to allow the process to take place. It takes time to adopt. I know that it's a crisis. We know that things are urgent, but it takes time for the government there and for UNICEF and the various agencies to work through the paper flow to allow orphans to be adopted. Because if we don't allow for that process to take place, we're going to end up with situations where children who have families actually get taken to another country.
And we've also been heard the warning bell that human trafficking could happen with these children. Do you think that's a valid warning?
Well, it was something that came up during the tsunami, and there were stories about it happening during the tsunami. And
haven't yet been proven, though.
Well, they haven't been proven yet, but the problem is that it kind of spreads like wildfire among the local inhabitants, and I saw it during the tsunami. So what's happened is that UNICEF has set up roadblocks actually at the border, helping to ascertain whether children that are crossing into the Dominican are in fact legal, and of course then all the standard policies at airports to ensure that children that are leaving, in fact, are legally able to leave the country.
Okay, well, I want to hear from Mark Outerbridge with Mission Aviation Fellowship. Mark, your agency was on the ground long before, for decades before this happened. Who is going to take care of all of these orphans?
Well, my goodness, it's a huge problem, and there are many people who've stepped forward and said, we would like to adopt. There are agencies that are looking out for these children. Our organization is involved in transportation and logistics and communications, so we're helping facilitate the process through communications and transporting these children to where they need to go, because some of them are in rural areas. It isn't just Port-au-Prince, and they need to get to the larger areas. So it's going to be a large but combined effort.
Well, let's go to New Mercy Ministries, which is a charity which also supports orphanage work. And Rick Langstaff, tell us what you hope to get done on the ground there with New Mercy Ministries.
Well, right now we've kind of shifted gears. We have a work with an orphanage in a school there, and some of the contacts, they've taken some damage, but we also have an aircraft, an extension of Flights of Hope, which we've got a call from some agencies in Pennsylvania where they're needing planes and pilots to take supplies and medical supplies into areas in Port-au-Prince area where there's little pockets where missionaries actually became the aid agency because they can't reach everywhere, and so we're trying to take the supplies in and just be doing some round trips with the Piper Aztec, taking doctors in and into these areas where they request it.
So that need of the small agency to be able to help the larger agencies get their people where they need to go.
That's right.
Okay, well, we do have a clip from Haiti. The Canadian Jesuits International have played a role there for decades as well, and their workers were on the ground. Let's take a look at what they've experienced.
Pat and I, the paramedic that I've been working with and following around, saw somebody who seemed, she wasn't reacting to too much and very, just quiet and laying there. And we were told by another medical person that we were told just to let her die. So that's hard, obviously. So to walk away from that is difficult, and it's probably something I'll think more about later. Some of the screams you hear from people are as you're helping people and you know they're in pain, and just holding their hand, putting your hand on their shoulder and just letting them know it's okay. It's the best thing I can do right now, so that's what I'm doing.
Okay, the hard work being done with the Jesuit teams there. Jenny, you hear her anguish in her voice. What hope do you have that your people can handle this kind of workload?
I would like to answer that question with an anecdote or a story. Hours after the earthquake took place, our team in the Dominican Republic, Jesuits and the Jesuit Refugee Service, took some truckloads of material over by road to Haiti. They arrived at nightfall, and they were really quite concerned about how they were going to do the distribution. And they had a couple of guards for the night, and the next morning they met to see how this distribution was going to take place. Meantime, people started to gather asking for the things, and they were worried how this was going to take place. Father Mario Moreno went out and asked the people to go back home in the slum nearby, and that he would go and meet with them. So he went there, and by the time he got there, the people were all gathered, and he was quite concerned and afraid. And people said, Father, don't worry, we have already discussed this. We're going to help you distribute this material, and we already decided how we're going to take turns to look after the trucks while the distribution is taking place.
What convinces you that this, everyone's doubting that something will happen here, that it'll really be a different tomorrow? Jacob Kramer, hope, can you address that for us?
The Haitian people are very resilient people, and I think most of the viewers of this program will have followed the news and seen the march through Port-au-Prince. People, 4 or 5 days after one of the worst disasters ever took place, going to the street, not to get something, but to testify of their hope. And marching, singing, clapping their hands, that is not in Darfur, not in Aceh, but it is in Haiti. And I think that is something for us all to look at. And how can we not join them in that hope and make that hope possible by helping them?
All right, well, take that and think about it as we stir up our cynicism on just how long will we hang in together with Haiti. We've heard many of these Christian agencies, how they're responding. And next, what you can do as a viewer of Listen Up TV. Find out after this.
Compassion's been working in Haiti for over 40 years. We have an amazing infrastructure of some 230 church partners that we work with. We care for over 65,000 children. When the earthquake struck, our partners went into action right away. One of the great things about Compassion is that we are nationalized, so we didn't have to parachute in any Canadians or Americans. We started right away with our Haitian staff caring for Haitians.